Welcome into the Hard Count, the People's College Football Show. We have got a lot to get into today, man. It's the beautiful month of May. There is a ton of things happening, moving and shaking in the college football world. But I got to thinking, are we about to have the most wide open college football season we've ever had? I'm not saying it's 2007, but I am saying if you were to look at the college football seasons as a family, maybe this is like a distant cousin to the 2007 season. Because I'll tell you what, man, there is new quarterbacks everywhere in college football. Some of that is the perfect storm that the transfer portal created. Some of that is the NFL draft and just a certain number of guys deciding to leave when they left at, what we would consider like the big dogs in the sport. But you go check out the odds in Vegas. Of the top 20 teams that are favored to win the national title in 2025, 13 of those teams will be starting someone new at quarterback. Now, we understand new does not equal not good. New just means there's going to be, to some degree, a learning curve you have to believe for some of those guys. Now, what does that learning curve look like for an Arch Manning? What does that learning curve look like for, a Julian Saint at Ohio State? I don't know. It might be nothing for those guys. But I will say, when you look across the landscape, this makes this season, I think, extremely fascinating. At a conference level, the favorites to win the Big Ten and the SEC, Ohio State and Texas respectively, both new quarterbacks. In the ACC, two of the top three favorites to win that conference, in Miami and Louisville, behind Clemson, new quarterbacks. Now, the Big 12 is actually pretty deep at quarterback. I was talking with Cato before we got on the air here. It might be the most known commodity as a conference when you look at the quarterback position, and that makes this thing interesting, I think, as you zoom out on the landscape. Because I just told you, some of those top dogs, the Ohio States, the Texases of the world, the Georgias of the world, the Michigans of the world, like a lot of those schools with new quarterbacks, that creates some uncertainty. But at some other schools that you would maybe consider dark horses, like the dark horse community right now is in a very intriguing spot. The Penn States of the world with Drew Aller and company, all they bring back. Could they make a move this year? Illinois, Luke Altmaier, he's back. Could they make a move? And then teams in the SEC that you keep an eye on, but you don't always consider to be like conference title contenders. South Carolina, Illinois Sellers, what are they going to be? And Florida and DJ Lagway, what are they going to be? I talk about LSU and all that they bring back with Garrett Nussmeier and what we've seen LSU to be historically. Like, there's no telling what those schools are able to accomplish. And it's not even a thing of where they could win the conference. I think the question becomes intriguing when you say, could they maybe steal a couple of games they wouldn't have stole should those other top dogs have had a returning quarterback at a more established point in their roster? So all I'm trying to say here is the national picture and the postseason picture, I think, has never hinged more on quarterback play, because it used to be in the BCS system, even in the 4-team system. If you did well during the regular season in the BCS era, you won one game, you're a national champion. In the 4-team playoff, you win 2 games, you're a national champion. In the new era of college football, in the 12-team playoff and beyond, you have to win at least 3 games, maybe 4, to win a national championship. The reality there is, in those situations, you're going to play teams that are of an equal roster talent level. So what makes the difference when the rosters are more or less even? Quarterbacks. Okay, so with those teams I just spoke to, there's no guarantee that Texas has what they need at quarterback. There's no guarantee Ohio State has what they need at quarterback. Is this the year where Penn State makes a move? I just told you, LSU, could they make a move? So I think now that, speaking to the postseason, going back to this idea of the college football season being more wide open than it's ever been, it has never been harder in the postseason to win a national championship once you get there. One, you got to be healthy, and we've seen now in multiple instances that's a difficult thing to accomplish in the 4-team playoff and the 12-team playoff. You have to match up well with your opponent. Who you draw has never been more relevant in the postseason. Also, psychologically got to be in a good spot. Quarterbacks can make up for all of that. So we just said all of the unknowns here at different spots, that makes this whole thing, I think, very, very just intriguing. And I don't know if we're here to say parity is good for the sport or bad for the sport, but I do think you're going to get a lot of just wild storylines across the season and across the postseason. So to close now, the throne is wide open in college football. It is. At a conference level, at a national title level, it's wide open. So what I think we're going to get here is, 1, electric conference races, because of those unknowns at quarterback. And I also think when we get to the college football playoff, you're going to have a lot of, I have to believe now, first-year starting quarterbacks that are going to be asked in big moments to make the plays for their teams to win. What I just told you, how important it is in the college football playoff for your quarterback to be the guy. We're going to see how those guys handle it. So all that's to say, buckle up. It's going to be a chaotic season. It's going to be, I think, the most wide-open college football season we've had since 2007. And there's a lot of unknowns, more unknowns than I think we can even speak to in recent memory, for my money at least, at some of these top institutions across the country. So on this show, I want us to do our best to unpack together some of the big questions in college football. We did this for the Big Ten Conference. I want to do this for the SEC. And y'all, we got, just notes. We got a freaking Harry Potter book over here going through some of these notes. We're going to go through these rather efficiently, not quickly, not hurrying, but we're going to go ahead and be efficient here. I want to start with Florida. The big question for them in the SEC is DJ Lagway as advertised? What you saw from DJ Lagway last year, was it real? Because remember, those last two games that you saw from him during the regular season against LSU and Ole Miss, it was like, okay, baby, we got something here in Gainesville. We got a difference maker at quarterback. I think the people that are out on Florida right now, a big reason why you would say that is, well, they're not going to sneak up on anybody this year. Kind of blew their cover the last couple of games of the year, right? Like the Ole Miss game too. How much stock do you put into that? They lost to Kentucky. How real was that? They went over LSU. They were unpredictable all year long, right? Like, I don't know that, one, you're buying into that. Two, you don't know if what you saw last year from DJ Lagway is going to be repeatable. Also, he misses spring. Also, there's the fact of the matter that people have tape on him now. So for all that to say, I think that if you're speaking to DJ Lagway and him being as advertised, as a Florida fan, every ambition you have for the postseason or for what you could be when it comes to your win total, it's all tied to number two. Right? He's a psychology changer for your fan base and for how you feel internally. Like, as an offensive coordinator, you're thinking, what can we call with DJ Lagway on the field? As opposed to, if he's not out there, you're saying, okay, what are we able to call? He's a game plan changer for your team in terms of how you're calling the game, what I just spoke to, also for the team on the other sideline. I just told you how open the SEC is with Bama's got a new quarterback, Georgia's got a new quarterback, Texas got a new quarterback. For Florida, you're saying we feel good about our quarterback. If he is who we believe he is going to be, we are going to be in the mix here in November. And that schedule is brutal. We say it, I feel like, every single time out of obligation for speaking to what Florida's going to be here in 25. But here's my take on this. I think what you saw last year from DJ Lagway, especially against LSU and Ole Miss, I think it was real. Reason for that being, when they played LSU and Ole Miss, they got their best shot. They got their best shot because at that point in time, both LSU and Ole Miss were in the college football playoff race. Like, LSU had 3 losses. There was no telling how the committee was going to see them if they got to the end of the road there at 9-3. Now, it ended up being a thing where 9-3 wasn't good enough, but LSU was still optimistic about being a playoff team should things break their way, right? Ole Miss, they had 2 losses. They were expecting to make the college football playoff. They were already booking their flights and making plans if you're an Ole Miss fan, I have to believe. So that's one part of it. They got their best shot. The other part of it is DJ Lagway in those 2 games played against what I would deem as pretty aggressive coordinators. Pete Golding at Ole Miss, Blake Baker at LSU. They both want to apply pressure. They both want to make you uncomfortable. They want to be a little bit exotic in their looks. That's who they are. And DJ Lagway, as a true freshman quarterback, handled that really well. Well enough for Florida to win that game. So my thing is, I also think DJ Lagway and what he did last year, I don't know that we talk enough about the reality that he was still figuring it out. Like, he'd been in college for like 9 months by the time he was playing in those games. He wasn't supposed to start this year. It was supposed to be Graham Mertz's team. Graham Mertz gets hurt. Lagway goes in. The rest is history. Imagine if he has a true base to work with now, with actually having played games, which he does. And imagine, and this is a big one here, and you have to imagine this right now, but you're hoping this is true. Imagine if he's healthy. Now, he did not get spring practice, and if that's making you a little bit nervous, I understand. I totally hear that. But if you are going to go ahead and say, I think he's healthy by the fall. He wasn't healthy when he played against LSU and Ole Miss, was he? He's dinged up, not 100%. And they still found a way to win those football games because of him. So my take on this is DJ Lagway, is he as advertised? I think so. I think he will be. And I think that what you saw at the end of last year was real. I think it's repeatable. I think he'll build off that. And I think for those reasons, Florida is going to be an absolute pain to have on your schedule here the rest of the way. You still got to see Florida, man. We say it every time. You still have to play Florida. I know they have a tough schedule. I know there's a lot of logos on there they have to deal with, but you still got to deal with Florida too when it's time for the toe to meet leather. Now, another big question here. Hey, is Georgia's line of scrimmage back to bully mode? And I'll talk about what I mean by that right now. But before we do that, make sure you are subscribed. All right, college football, nothing but college football on the show, baby. All right, year round, it's ball and only ball. If you're a Georgia fan and you want more Georgia content, let us know by subscribing. The comment section is nice. We appreciate that. But when you subscribe to the channel, it lets us know you want more Georgia content if you're a Georgia fan. So we appreciate y'all for locking in. So I mentioned this. It's about the line of scrimmage for me. And I understand, like, there's definitely a ton of questions around the quarterback position and the offense and all that. But you just had a quarterback in Carson Beck who's going to play on Sundays. He's got sweet tattoos, who's not leaving Athens with a national title to his name after 2 seasons starting at quarterback for the Dogs. And I have to believe that all the blame he got, all the blame Mike Bobo got, the receivers, all that, some of that's warranted. But what made Georgia so filthy when they were reeling off back-to-back national titles? You say Brock Bowers. Yep, hear that. I agree. Stetson Bennett. Yeah, second year he elevated his game. Totally. Y'all, what made Georgia in those 2 seasons was they would punch you in the face and smile about it. And they would eat punches themselves. Those 2 years, man, they ran for right around 200 yards a game on the ground and allowed less than 100 yards on the ground a game both seasons. That was their MO. You were not running on them, and they would run on you, and they'd move you against your will. Last year, Georgia ran for right around 120 a game. Not great. They allowed 131 on the ground per game. Now, hear me. That's not awful. It's just not up to par with what Georgia expects and what they have been at their best. Like, I think a lot of the problems last year you point to, and I just told you, Carson Beck, Mike Bobo, the receivers, all that catches some blame, whether it's fair or not. Why was Carson Beck pressing? Why was he throwing the ball in harm's way so much? I don't know. Maybe he felt like he had to. Maybe he was having a situation where his ground game wasn't able to put him in position to where those DBs were having to worry about the ground game quite as much because the front seven can handle it. Maybe so. Mike Bobo, hey, you can't convert a third down. We're 39% on third down. What's up with that? I don't know. Maybe because you're in longer third downs. I mean, Georgia was, I think, 1 for 8 on third down against Florida. 1 for 8 on third down of 3rd and 8 or more. Okay, you're living in 3rd and 8 plus 8 times during a game. That's not winning football. It's not going to help you. Now, it was winning football on that day, but you hear what I'm saying. Better teams, better rosters make you pay for it. Who knows if DJ Lagway stays in that game if things are different? I don't know. The secondary, hey, doesn't look very Georgia-ish, right? We have Texas carving us up a little bit here in the SEC title game, and Mississippi State's throwing it around. Like, all that is fair, but maybe if teams weren't running for 130 a game, secondary doesn't have to worry about that quite as much. So it all builds on each other. And to me, I think everything for Georgia, what they've been built on historically, is that line of scrimmage. And it wasn't Georgia brand. Like, for me, it's like, when you ask your parents, can we stop for food? We have food at home. Can we stop for Georgia line of scrimmage? We have Georgia line of scrimmage at home. That wasn't the Georgia line of scrimmage we've come to know. It just that wasn't what it was, man. So here's my guess on this thing. I think that Kirby Smart took last year personal. Can't prove it. Don't know if he would ever tell you that in an open forum, but I have to believe by how he coaches football, what his teams have been built on. They're physical. They're tougher than you. They're the bully. That wasn't them last year. We all saw that. And so I think for Kirby, they're going to learn from that. I think that's going to bother them. I think that's going to fuel them here in fall camp. And what we know about Georgia is they handle missteps and, dare I say, adversity the correct way. The adversity that was last year, in a year where they still won the SEC and they were nowhere near their expectation of what they should be on the line of scrimmage, I think that's going to be something that fuels them going forward. Like, as we sit here in May, I trust the mentality of Kirby Smart to make sure this is something that they fix here in the future. I also trust what's in the cupboard. Like, Georgia has nothing but top 3 classes right now on their roster. It's not a matter of ability. Now, some of it is a matter of can they stay healthy? Because you look at the injuries last year for Georgia, Tate Ratledge gets dinged up at parts of the year. Michael Williams, first-round pick, he's dinged up. Trevor Etienne, he's dinged. Like, it was a collection of maybe the perfect storm to some degree, but still, I think Georgia overall, They should have been better than they were last year, and I'd be wildly surprised if they're not better this upcoming season. So what does it mean for Gunnar Stockton? It means you don't have to ask him to be what Carson Beck was last year and throw the ball all over the place. It means defensively you should be better in the secondary because that front seven should be better against the run. So all that's to say now, is Georgia back to bully mode up front? If they are, Georgia's going to be right back up there in Atlanta and be in contention to win the SEC for the second year in a row. And I think Kirby Smart's going to make sure that the issue is forced up front by nature of how they conduct their business out there in Athens. Now, Arch Manning is a massive, massive talking point for everyone across the country, and we've said it too. We think Arch is going to be pretty good out there in Austin. I really believe he will be. So much talent, so much ability, the pedigree, the fact that he's had a couple of years to develop under Steve Sarkisian and be in that system. I love that. But here's my big question for Texas as it pertains to their 2025 aspirations. How stable is everything around Arch Manning? Because, y'all, to be real, like, Twitter isn't real life. And Twitter will tell you that Arch Manning should be the first pick next year. They tell you he should be the second coming of Peyton Manning. Twitter's got a lot of opinions that are extreme about Arch Manning. But the reality is, it's his first year as a starting quarterback in college football. And I keep saying this. I tell you, temper expectations. I think he's going to be great. But can we all just, like, take a deep breath for a second and understand the dude hasn't played a snap as the guy in Austin just yet? I don't think that's unreasonable. I don't think he needs to be Josh Allen from, the very first time he touches the field for Texas. Now, it'd be nice because you play Ohio State the first game, so, that's one thought around this thing. But there's an old saying, it takes a village. It takes a village to raise a first-year starter. That's what Arch Manning is. And so I'm still very high on Texas. I have him preseason right now, number 1 in the country. Yes, in some part because of I trust Arch Manning, but even more so because I trust everything else around Texas and what they have on this roster. Like the offensive line, yeah, you're replacing some pieces. Steve Sarkisian feels good about it. If Steve Sarkisian feels good about it, I think we should all feel good about it too. The defense, they're going to be nasty again. Names like Colin Simmons, who was an absolute problem last year as a true freshman. Just a teenager wrecking shop last year in college football. Anthony Hill, he's back. I trust Michael Taft in the secondary and what they are back there. Like there's a lot there to be excited about defensively. But to me, this is where Steve Sarkisian kind of just gets to kind of wink at college football. Like we've all seen different movies where the main character is about to attempt something kind of insane that seems impossible or whatever. They just they feel good about it, so that they throw you a quick wink. That's Steve Sarkisian right now. It's year 5. And so he gets to show you how he's recruited over his entire time out there in Austin. This is a spot now where Texas, from a roster perspective, gets to show you they've been recruiting with the big dogs. All right, you go look at what they've done these last 3 years, 3 top 10 classes. 2 of those top 10 classes were within the top 3. One of those, this most recent cycle, was the number 1 class. They've been recruiting with what it takes. You look at how they used the portal, they took some pieces. There was no real splashy move, was it? And if there was one, it was like Emmett Mosley from Stanford, who's going to be a good player for them. But there was no, wow, Texas really met a need here. We weren't talking about Texas meeting some intense needs on their roster because they don't feel like they have intense needs on their roster. Why? Because Steve Sarkisian has recruited at a high level. He's anticipated at a high level. He did it before they got to the SEC. There's a reason why when they were in the Big 12 there last year, they're taking a knee, driving in against Alabama in Tuscaloosa to finish that game out with the entire Texas crowd that was traveled there to Alabama chanting SEC, SEC, SEC. Like, there's a reason why they were able to do that, because Steve Sarkisian had built the roster to be in a place to go compete at that level. I really feel like, based on the moves they haven't made this offseason, Steve Sarkisian feels pretty good about this roster. In that same vein, he's anticipated a year like this to keep winning at a high level in the SEC. So I think it's stable, because if it wasn't, Sark would make some moves. I really do. So how stable is everything else around Arch Manning? Don't take my word for it. Take Steve Sarkisian's word for it. He is telling you we feel good. If they didn't feel good, they would make more moves to eventually feel good, because Steve Sarkisian wouldn't go into a season where he doesn't feel awesome about the roster. So all that's to say, Texas, yeah, Arch Manning, I hope he's great. I think he can be very, very good, but everything else around him at Texas, based on what Steve Sarkisian with his actions is telling us, they're going to be in a good spot here in 2025. Longhorns, man, it's going to It's going to be fun to watch what Arch Manning is there early on in the year, man. Going to Columbus. Noon kick. Well, the folks in Columbus weren't pumped, but noon kick there to start the year off. But nonetheless, we'll be dialed for it regardless. Play that game at 3 a.m. We'll be watching. Alabama, what's their big question? It's something that we have taken a club and beat to absolute death. Does Kalen DeBoer have a Kalen DeBoer brand kind of quarterback? And I've said this for a few times, but I want to just make sure we say it one more time. This is so important, and this is one of, I think, the most key puzzle pieces in the entire picture of the college football landscape in 2025, because everything else around Alabama, I feel really good about. Like defensively, top 10 unit last year. Guess what? They bring back 60% production. Some young bucks had to play for them in the secondary last year. They're back. Damani Jackson, Xavier Brown, they're back. Everything else is there. I mean, receivers, they feel great about that, or you should feel good about that based on Isaiah Horton, Ryan Williams. Like there's a lot of names. We could name names here for the better part of 5 minutes for this segment. But the point being, right now Alabama is in a stable place roster-wise. And when you look at what's made Kalen DeBoer successful at his best seasons at Fresno State or at Washington, what has he had? A quarterback to run his system. Jake Haener at Fresno State, Penix at Washington. Do they have that right now at Alabama? My feeling on this is there is, at the very least, the ability in that room right now. And the reason why I feel that way is I think Kalen DeBoer feels that way. And if Kalen DeBoer doesn't feel that way, I mean, the guys in that room feel that way. Like Austin Mack, he was recruited by Kalen DeBoer not once but twice. First at Washington, then over to Alabama. Keelan Russell, obviously, recruited by Kalen DeBoer. Ty Simpson, if Ty Simpson wasn't going to be the guy or didn't think he could be the guy, one, Ryan Grubb wouldn't say if we started a game tomorrow, Ty Simpson would be our quarterback. That's the first part of this. Second part of this is he's been in Tuscaloosa for a while now. If he was going to not be the guy, he would have, I think, had that communicated to him and probably would have gone to play somewhere else via that spring transfer portal. He's still there. So for all those clues for us, I'm looking at Kalen DeBoer and saying, okay, you think you have the ability in your room. How much better did you make Ty Simpson? Because we all saw Ty Simpson early on against, I think it was USF, in that game where Jalen Milroe didn't play. It was ugly. It was in the rain. It was like at USF. Just a weird game in general when you think about recent history for Crimson Tide fans. But Kalen DeBoer, I think when you look at Michael Penix and what he was at Indiana to Washington, Kalen DeBoer made him better. Like, yes, I know he played for him at Indiana, but hear me clearly. Kalen DeBoer elevated Michael Penix into being an NFL quarterback, a first-round draft pick. I truly believe that. Does he elevate Ty Simpson? Does he elevate Ty Simpson into being a guy that can go win you the SEC and be a college football playoff contender? I think it's there, but again, this is so important to me because everything else is going to come from your quarterback position in terms of success. Like, it's no longer an era for Alabama football where you win in spite of the quarterback or the quarterback rides shotgun while defense drives the car or the running game drives the car. It's a quarterback-driven outfit in Tuscaloosa. We all understand that. And if we didn't understand that, go back and watch what last year was and watch what you had with Jalen Milroe and watch that car just run into a curb, it felt like, every few weeks. It wasn't sustainable. Defense was good. I told you, top 10 in the country. Offense, running game wasn't horrible, but because you didn't have anything at quarterback, you weren't able to do a Kalen DeBoer kind of team. You weren't able to have a Kalen DeBoer brand kind of outfit. And I get there's other things that play into that, but that was the most visible one for my money. So I keep saying this. I like everything about Alabama. I'm unsure about quarterback because we're all unsure right now. We have no idea what to think. We can guesstimate, and we will on this show. We'll predict and make our most educated guess, but like we don't know right now. I like the defense. I like the skill. I like the continuity what they have on the second level or the secondary, I should say. I like the second year in the system for the defense as well. It's very TBD for me, but I will say I feel good about Alabama knowing that it comes down to quarterback with a head coach who specializes on the offensive side at the quarterback position. So we'll see what happens there, but if Bama has a DeBoer brand quarterback, if they have someone of the caliber of a Haener or a Penix, they're going to be in the college football playoff. And if we see something like that, we'll make our prediction. But as of right now, we're going to, kind of stand pat for a second. We're going to hold our breath, but they're that close. They are truly that close, but it's going to make all the difference in the world between 9-3 or being 11-1 and being a college football playoff team. So we'll see what happens there. But Tennessee, they had a good time against Bama last year. big part of that was they were able to impose their will physically on not just Bama, but I feel like most teams across college football last year. That's why they made the college football playoff. So the big question for them is, hey, that old formula you used last year, is that still intact? Does that still work? We'll unpack it right now. If you're a Tennessee fan, though, and you want more Tennessee content, make sure you're subscribed. I mean, if you're watching the full hour-long show, thank you for that. We appreciate you for that. But if you're watching us as a one-off clip as well, subscribe to the channel. College football, nothing but year-round. Appreciate y'all being dialed in. So there's a reason now where people didn't really melt over the Nico Iamaleava departure. I mean, there was a reaction that was pretty intense, but it was, yes, in large part because of how it happened and the NIL of it all, and it was spring practice, all those things, but you didn't find anybody really hitting the panic button. In fact, a lot of people that were calling into our show and leaving us voicemails were saying he wasn't that great anyway. He didn't carry us to the playoff last year anyway. It was because of our run game and our top 5 defense. And while I think some of that is, debatable on what you lost with Nico because of his potential and all those things, that was why they made the playoff last year. It was because they got into fistfights and they beat the crap out of people. I mean, top 5 defense in America last year, ran the football over 200 yards a game. But it's year 5 now for Josh Heupel at Tennessee. Year 5 now is interesting because all of these guys on Heupel's roster, they're his guys. Recruited, developed. Yes, they went to the portal for some pieces, of course, everyone does now, but for the most part, I mean, Josh Heupel, these are all people that he has brought into Knoxville. He can sign his name next to every single facet of this roster and of this culture and of their process. But I think when we look at the quarterback position and we look at the formula for Tennessee, I can't help but feel like 2022 kind of muddied the picture for all of us and muddied the expectations, because 2022, you close your eyes, you think of Jalen Hyatt scoring 17 touchdowns against Bama. You think of Hendon Hooker being arguably the best quarterback in college football that season. I know Caleb Williams, I guess, was pretty good, but you hear what I'm saying. He was unreal that year. It was humming. It was potent. It was all those things, and the defense was atrocious. So you're saying, man, if we just had a defense, we could compete for the playoff and the SEC and all those things. And you're not wrong. But that was such a visible story in college football because of the way that Tennessee popped and they beat Saban and all those things. But like Tennessee, for the most part, that's kind of been their MO from what you saw last year in regards to run the football, play good defense. Like the year after 2022, Tennessee goes out their top 25 unit on defense. They allowed 20 points a game. It's pretty good. Right? Ran for over 200 yards a game. Last season, they were epic on defense. Ran for over 200 yards a game, yet again, 240 a game. Like, that's kind of who they are to some extent here. And we have this one, I don't want to say outlier, but this one season where Heupel is trying to still get Tennessee up and running, and you have his offense meet with an incredible talent in Hendon Hooker and a guy who's been in college football for a while, and their success there with the skill players as well. It all kind of was a perfect formula to where it just exploded in 2022. But the bones of this thing is still built on play good defense, run the football. So does that formula still work in 25 to them, making the college football playoff? My answer is I don't know. I don't know that it's going to be something where you just fist fight your way to another playoff berth. Why? Because college football is unpredictable. The SEC is weird. You still got to play some of these quarterbacks that could give you some trouble, and a Lagway and a Napier and all that. I totally hear that. But what I will say is I think the defense will be good enough to tee it up for your offense, to tee it up for Joey Aguilar to be the difference for you. So it really, to me, all comes down to, can he be the guy to make enough timely plays? I don't need 30 touchdowns and 3 picks. I need something closer to like 24, 25 touchdowns. Give me like 7 interceptions-ish. Like, I don't need you to be perfect. I need you to be good enough in the big moments. Because that was really Tennessee last year. It was the maturity. In one-score games, went 2-1. That was the difference. That was why they made the playoff. Because when it was time to put up or shut up, and it was time to go win a football game, Tennessee was good enough. They were mature enough. They were well-coached enough to go get it done. And you can credit Nico or not credit Nico as much as you want to, but I really do think that same formula will be at least in place. Do you have a guy that can take advantage of it in Joey Aguilar? I'll also add this on. When you point the finger at Joey Aguilar, make sure, keep a little side eye now on what the receivers are doing. Because I think Nico probably could have even been better last year should he have had somebody to separate. That same problem still will persist if you don't have someone step up in that wide receiver room, whether it's Brazel, whether it's Mike Matthews, somebody has got to step up to be the guy to maximize Joey Aguilar. So I'm excited to watch it, but it's all going to come down to, can Tennessee close? If they can, defense will be good enough. I mean, I think defense and the run game will be good enough. Do you have a quarterback that can maximize it? We'll see. But the old formula, the bones of that should still be in place. Now, it's no secret, man. We've been, enormously high on Oklahoma this year. Just like it's great that it worked out this way for Oklahoma, because last year, dude, we do our season predictions. We do our whole win-loss thing on the short form social medias, TikTok, Instagram, at Jody PicKell. Go ahead and follow me there and follow the On3 TikTok. But last year, I predicted Oklahoma to go 6-6. You would have thought that I put a curse on the state of Oklahoma, and I wished ill on them. Was not the case. They go 6-6, some of that with injuries, some of that with losing some games that maybe they shouldn't have lost. All that's to say, I am all in on Oklahoma in 2025. And my big question for them is, like, does what's on paper for them actually translate to what's going to be on the grass for them? Because, y'all, I love the piece of paper, and I don't apologize for it. I don't. John Mateer and what he was at Washington State, now coming to Norman, I'm here for it, dude. Deion Burks, a healthy Deion Burks, here for it. Jaden Ott from the Cal Rhythm, I'm here for it at running back. The defense, Brent Venables calling the show, one of the best minds in college football on the defensive side. He's your head coach. Yeah, I'm here for that too. Like, on the defensive side, dude, I am here for it. On paper, I'm here for it. But the question isn't, do you look good on paper? It's, do you actually look good on the grass and make it all happen and have some substance behind you? Now, the problems last year for Oklahoma, they may not be fixed, but I think you're at a spot where you can work with it. Like, it's tough to say your offensive line is fixed after you were just one of the worst units in America last year. It's tough to say that. What I will say, though, is I think you are improved up front. I trust Bill Bedenbaugh, and I trust John Mateer to get you out of some trouble. The weapons, hope they stay healthy. It's impossible to know if that's going to be the case or not. Offensively, you address that with a new scheme. I love all that. But here's my biggest thing that I'm buying stock in addition to everything I mentioned with the piece of paper for Oklahoma. Doesn't it feel a little bit like the swag is back at Oklahoma? Doesn't it feel like the people in that building not just have the chip on their shoulder and are hungry and all those things? Like, it feels like there is a genuine buzz in the air that Oklahoma understands their Oklahoma, which is a weird thing to say, but it didn't feel like that was there last year. Like, we talked to Jim Nagy a couple of days ago on the show, and one of the things that he speaks to right away is you walk in the building, you see the national title trophies, you see the Heisman trophies, you see all these things. Like, you understand where you're at. And there's a certain pride in that. There's an element of, I think, ownership in that. And that's what some of these great teams have had. I talk about Baker Mayfield a lot on this show because I think what he was at Oklahoma embodies the certain attitude and swag that you should have if you're the quarterback at Oklahoma, or if you're in that locker room at Oklahoma, period. Like, I think that's back at Oklahoma. Just hearing what they're saying, hearing about the buzz, hearing about how Brent Venables is coaching this thing, watching the mic'd up segments they're putting out there on the socials. Like, is it propaganda? Maybe so, but we're here for it. We're taking something from that. I think there's some of that swag that's back for the Sooners that's been missing from this last season. And so for Oklahoma, are they going to make the college football playoff? I'll say this. I wouldn't be surprised if they were on the back porch there towards the end of the year. They just kind of popped up there and knocking on the door and say, hey, we're here. Maybe not kicking the door down, but we're here. We're here for something like this. I do think that in October and November, with how brutal their schedule is, they're going to ruin it for somebody. Now, who is that? I have no idea, but I would not be shocked in the slightest if we're looking up at the end of the year and saying, oh, man, that team, if they hadn't lost to Oklahoma, they could be in the playoff. If they hadn't dropped that one in Norman or dropped that one when the Sooners rolled in town, maybe they get it done. So all that's to say, I'm excited to watch what they are here in 2025, but we are buying stock in the Sooners. Yes, because of the piece of paper, but in large part because of what they have from a vibes perspective, a swag perspective, all those things, which, yeah, it's May. We don't apologize for that, but there's something to be taken from that, I think, here as we move forward. Now, South Carolina, going from one team we're high on to the next, I think that we are – I mean, y'all, we've bought all the Lenore Seller stock there is to buy. We've purchased everything but the action figure, which I'll just say this. If they could lower that price point a little bit, maybe we'd be able to make something shake there. But the question around South Carolina and the big reason why we have them in the college football playoff, it's all about Lenore Sellers, right? All about Lenore Sellers. And for me, it's sort of a two-part question around them. The first part and the biggest part of this is, does he have the cape on that he had on last season? Because there were games you turn it on and it's like he shouldn't be able to do what he's doing. He shouldn't break 18 tackles against Clemson or against A&M, and he just ends up doing it, ends up taking over the game. When he is on, he being Lenore Sellers, South Carolina can play with and beat anyone on their schedule. That's a big statement. I'm not backing down from it because I think he's that good. And I think he's that good because we've seen him be that good. We've seen him take over games where South Carolina isn't at this talent advantage against different rosters. Doesn't matter because 16's on the field and 16's going to make sure he takes over, and that's kind of how this whole thing goes. So I'm a big believer in South Carolina and Lenore Sellers for that reason. So the question is, okay, like how often does he have the cape on? Is that something where he just keeps the cape on from September to November and South Carolina's in Atlanta and then the college football playoff? It's possible. Absolutely possible. Now, my second question, though, within that for South Carolina, does South Carolina have the sides in order? Like you guys all know, there's some of these barbecue joints that you go to and you roll up there and the sign says, "Hey, ribs," and it's got a Sharpie through it. It's got all good barbecue restaurants usually got like the brown piece of paper where the menu is written on, or it's got the special today. Ribs, it's out. Brisket, it's out. But you don't care because the sides are good enough. The banana pudding is good enough. The mac and cheese is good enough. The okra is good enough. Does does South Carolina, potentially against Oklahoma, have the sides to still be good enough if Lenore Sellers is maybe not bad, but pedestrian on any given Saturday? Nicholas Harbor, is he your guy? Is Dylan Stewart your guy on the perimeter of that defense to rush the edge and take over games in that way? Like, do you have enough sides to maximize what you have at quarterback throughout the course of a season? That's my big question. So I think Lenore Sellers and what he is, I've said it many times, the ability there, I get this. I'm not saying he's Cam Newton. I'm not saying he's Johnny Manziel, but watching those dudes when they played and watching Lenore Sellers this past year, I get the same feeling. Different players, but I get the same feeling watching them play ball. So excited to see what they are here in 2025, man. But South Carolina, if Sellers is on, dude, all bets are off. All bets are off. Appreciate y'all being a part of this show, man. One thing we do on this show is take your voicemails. 629-888-3931. As it pertains to LSU, got some questions around them, sure, but when you called in and say, hey, put some respect on the Tigers' name, man. And a Florida student, of all people, called in and brought this question. He believes that they should be a top 5 team unanimously in college football. So go ahead and take a listen.
What's up, JD? I'm a University of Florida student, so it's not like I'm an LSU homer or anything, but I don't understand why LSU is not seen as like a unanimous top 5 team in the country going into next year. I mean, they have Garrett Nussmeier. He'll be one of the preseason Heisman favorites. Their running back was a freshman last year and led the team in rushing, so he should be a stud again. Aaron Anderson is going to be seen as one of the top wide receivers in the whole country. They have a lot of returning production at wide receiver. On defense, they got Whit Weeks and Harold Perkins returning. Those are going to be 2 of probably the 10 best front 7 guys we see in the entire country. And you know it's LSU, so I'm assuming the secondary is going to be pretty good. I know they have some work to do on the O-line, but I just see a lot of returning talent and production. I don't see why they're not seen as one of the 5 major college football playoff national title contenders. Let me know what you think. Thanks.
Appreciate you calling in again, 629-888-3931. So for context, preseason top 25, we have LSU at number 8. Now, we also have LSU in our college football playoff 12-team bracket. So make this clear. Your preseason top 25, or for us, our post-spring top 25, is not a prediction to where these teams are going to be when it comes time for the confetti to drop on these folks. But I will say that's kind of where I see LSU across the board for different top 25s that have been released, right around like that 7, 8, maybe 6 on the higher end. LSU, though, absolutely can win a national championship. And we've said that for a while here, kind of flying under the radar. I think we have a video out on the channel here if you go back to the month of, what's like March, early March, talking about how they can win a national championship. They're not really missing anything. Like he just spoke to it, I think, pretty articulately. Garrett Nussmeier, I've told you my affection for Lenore Sellers, but Garrett Nussmeier is the most known commodity at quarterback in college football. If you were ranking Garrett Nussmeier as the best quarterback in college football, I wouldn't have a ton of pushback for you. The staff continuity, Blake Baker, another year as the DC. Joe Sloan, another year as the OC. Okay, the skill, what they did via the portal, grabbing Barry and Brown, and you got Aaron Anderson, Nick Anderson. Caden Durham at the running back position. Like there's a lot to like here. And I didn't even talk about the other portal additions on the defensive side with Patrick Payton. But right now for me, LSU is a movie with a ton of great actors. Like we've all seen those previews for those movies that have Will Ferrell and John C. Reilly, and they got a bunch of other like star leads. But then you go watch the movie, you're like, that sucked. Why was that not good? All those actors are great. Why was that movie absolute dog water? Because they weren't able to make it all work together. And that's kind of my thing for LSU here in 2025. I love the cast. I even love Brian Kelly, contrary to what public opinion is in college football, that he's somehow holding them back. I don't think that's the case at all. I think LSU has everything they need to go win a national championship. But here's the thing about teams that win national titles. They're not just talented, they've got the other stuff. And the other stuff you can quantify as whatever you want. Call it leadership, call it grit, call it belief, call it the it factor, whatever. Call it whatever you want to call it. But great football teams have talent, and then they major in the other stuff. Ohio State did not have the other stuff against Michigan, but they somehow, some way honed that here for playoff time. And that other stuff was a big reason why they won the national championship. So for me, for LSU, do they have the other stuff in those key moments against those really key opponents? Like at Clemson. The other stuff, I think, is a big reason why LSU has had the records they've had in the opening games under Brian Kelly. When you go to Bama November 8th, when you got A&M rolling into town October 25th, do you have the other stuff to go with all of the talent you have? Because that's where you start working with some magic. You combine the unquantifiables with the talent level at LSU. I get it. College football is wacky. It's sometimes a sport that we just can't explain, and you just say, hey, that's Saturdays in the fall, man. There's no way to really put to logic to what we just saw on the field there. But I think LSU, to what I just said, has everything internally to where if it meets the other stuff, they have every opportunity to win a national title in 2025. So preseason, there's takes to be had out there. I'll say this too. LSU at number 8 for us. All 7 of the teams in front of them made the college football playoff last year and return a lot of talent that we like or we just trust the head coach. Trust Brian Kelly, but I want to see the other stuff. If they have that, LSU is going to be in business here and be a national title contender, which we actually think they are right now. Another fun one here. Showing the Big 12 some love. We got one of you calling in with a take on the Big 12 as it pertains to how many teams they could get into the college football playoff here this upcoming season. Take a listen.
What's up, JD? My name is Ezra. I'm calling from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. My hot take for this upcoming season is that the Big 12 will be a multi-bid league in the college football playoff. I believe this for a few reasons. One, I am pretty confident the ACC will only get Clemson in. I like Louisville, I like SMU, maybe Miami, but I am just not confident in really any ACC team to get the playoff besides Clemson. And the Big 12 has so much talent at quarterback, and it's such a deep league. The teams could beat up on each other, but really, I just see a lot of teams that really have that playoff potential. That's just the way I look at it. I think the Big 12 will get 2 teams in the college football playoff this year.
Right, so it sounds crazy, right? Sounds a little bit wacky. Say, JD, the Big 12, they're going to cannibalize each other, won't they? Just like last year, we'll have a bunch of 3-loss teams and 4-loss teams, and then we'll get to the Big 12 title game, and one team will punch their ticket. It's not as crazy as it sounds. Also, college football, pretty wacky sport, right? It's so weird, it's so crazy that it just might happen, is how I feel about it. Now, I'm not going to predict it right now. We'll give you our playoff predictions as we get closer to the season. But when you search back in the memory bank, y'all, this would have happened in 2022 if we had the 12-team playoff at that point in time. Like, remember, TCU, they run the table, go undefeated in the regular season. They lose to a Will Howard-led Kansas State team in Jerry World, got into the college football playoff, but Kansas State won the Big 12. So in that 12-team model, I'm sure TCU would have made the playoff as a one-loss team in the regular season, but Kansas State would have been the Big 12 champ. So what this will require is just that exact same formula. You need one team to separate, whether it's Arizona State, whether it's Kansas State, whether it's Iowa State. We'll talk about the potential suspects here in a second. One team to separate, run the table, and be dominant enough, probably with, you probably don't want more than one loss on the resume if you're a team from the Big 12 trying to get in as an at-large bid. And you need a junkyard dog with a couple of scratches, bruises, some time under the heavy bar, show up in Jerry World and win the football game, a la Kansas State and what they did there in 2022. So the suspects here, y'all, it wouldn't be that crazy based on the quarterback depth across the Big 12. We opened this full hour-long show talking about how wide open the college football world is because of all the big dogs in the sport and them not having returning quarterbacks. A lot of returning quarterbacks in the Big 12. I mean, Arizona State, they return pretty much everybody plus their quarterback. Number 2 returning production in the sport. Baylor, Sawyer Robertson back, plus 70% production on offense. Kansas State, Avery Johnson, Iowa State, TCU, Colorado, Texas Tech. There's a lot here on paper to where if it's about the quarterback position, there's a lot of guys to rely on and say, hey, if they just kind of up their game a couple notches and everybody else stays the same, they could be that team that runs the table and elevates themselves all the way into the college football playoff as in that large bid, and then someone sneaks up and gets themselves a spot there by winning the conference. So again, it's weird, it's wacky, but as we say this out loud, it's so crazy it just might happen because that's college football. It's so crazy that a team like Arizona State, who's picked to finish last in the conference, wins the conference. It's so crazy that a team like TCU, first-year head coach and Sonny Dykes, they make the national championship game. I'm just saying, man, college football, a weird sport, but weird things happen all the time. So be it. Let's finish this thing out here with a little check-in on the world of social media. So Florida State, their game time was announced for their game against Alabama to open up at home week 1 and was not prime time. All right, it's a 3:30 Eastern kick, ABC, ESPN. Be a great game. I think it's going to be McRoy on the call, you would think, would be my guess there. But Tommy Castellanos, transfer portal quarterback from Boston College to Florida State, takes to the Twitter sphere, seeing the game time, and is not pumped about it. He tweets out, LOL, no prime time is crazy, but bet. Now, if you're watching right now on YouTube and you see the little mentions, you got to kind of squint to see it because the mentions part of Twitter is pretty small. There's like 175 comments on that tweet. And I would not advise you to do this, but if you want to, go check the mentions. They are horrific. A lot of people pointing to the fact that Florida State last year, they were 2-10. And here's my thing for Tommy C, man. You were part of them going 2-10, brother. We all saw, actually in prime time, you take Florida State out to the woodshed after you carved them up doing whatever you wanted with your legs. So you're part of the problem here is what I would say. I would also say, hey, Tommy, what do you want them to do, man? Got a top 10 matchup in LSU and Clemson also being played that weekend that ESPN has the rights to. Like I think Florida State Bama will be fun. I'm excited to watch what they are with Gus Malzahn as the OC now, and we'll see what Alabama is. There's intrigue there for sure, but what is ESPN supposed to do? What do you want them to do, Tommy? I'm not saying you're wrong for wanting to be on primetime, but I don't think this is really something to be too upset about. If I'm Tommy Castellanos, just go ball out, bro. Go ball out. None of your other game times are for sure decided just yet. Go ball out. Go earn primetime. How about that? Go ball out against Alabama. Go do what you did to Florida State when you were at Boston College and maybe get the nation on notice. Put Florida State back into a spot where people want them on primetime. That's my whole part of this. Now, I will also say, if this gets Tommy Castellanos going a little bit, is just kind of talking his cash and feeling disrespected, the chip on the shoulder, great. I'm all here for it. But there's a part of me now where I'm like, man, not a lot of great competitors that I know, at least historically speaking, really ever complained about a game time. You know what I'm saying? I don't think there was ever a situation where Michael Jordan or Tom Brady were like, man, I can't believe they're not putting us on prime time. And tweeting about it. If they got asked about it during a press conference, they would actually just say, play them at 2 a.m. in the parking lot. We don't care. And again, if Tommy Castellanos has got to say something like this to get going and feel disrespected, cool. Again, I'm here for it, but it's not something I'm super excited about because for Florida State, last year, that was the thing, was the leadership did not seem to be in a position within that locker room to be able to be better than 2-10. And it was not a 2-10 roster from a talent level. It was a 2-10 product because of, I guess you would say, the lack there of competitive leadership or competitive stamina, whatever it was. They were much better than 2 wins last year. We can all look at the roster and know that. But they didn't accomplish better than 2-10 because nobody was focusing on the right things, from what I can gather. And so to me, the thing that makes me nervous here is it feels like this is Tommy Castellanos not focusing on the right things. Taking a lot from little, sure. I hope Thomas Castellanos absolutely balls out, but it does make me a little bit like, I don't love it. But again, if I'm him, let's go ball out, dude, and prove people wrong. Tell them, make it so they should have put you on prime time. Man, I wish we'd had Alabama and Florida State in that prime time slot because that game was awesome. Tommy Castellanos put on a clinic. Make them say that, dude. Also, if you're Florida State, like this year is all about getting your sea legs back, right? Getting your footing again, getting back to neutral. Go 8-4, win your bowl game, and finish the year ranked. That is success to me. This is not me saying that Florida State, if they go win the ACC, it's impossible. Again, college football, weird sport, wacky sport. But at the end of the day, to me, Florida State is in a spot where they got to kind of climb back to catch their breath in some ways here. And I don't love right now your quarterback tweeting out about how they need to put y'all on primetime. Handle business, beat Bama, make it a better game than LSU Clemson, and we'll get some primetime games for Florida State. I love the heart to be on the big stage. I think that's a big reason why I went to Florida State, but I would imagine that's a big reason why Florida State was attractive to anybody. But not a huge fan of that thought process at this point in time. But again, Tommy C, hope he balls out, hope he kills it, and hope Florida State is able to get back to some relevance there in college football. Hey, appreciate y'all being dialed in, making this show what it is. Appreciate y'all calling in again. Unpopular takes. Hit us with them. 629-888-3931. It's where you can give us a call, leave us a voicemail. That thing is always open. So there's no wrong time to be calling us. Any hour of the day, any day of the week, give us a call, leave a voicemail, and we'll make sure we get to it. For Cato on the ones and twos, for myself, JD PicKell, we love y'all. We appreciate y'all. We will keep this party rolling, and we will see y'all next time.